They say some parts of the swamp aren't earth at all. They're a body, and it's always hungry. In the deep south of Georgia, where the water drinks the sunlight, there are stories older than the state. Stories of the Hoga, a Cree word carried down by trappers and traders. It doesn't mean monster. It means heart of the mire, the thing that makes the swamp breathe. But around Blind Frog Pond, near the old logging town of Monica, they didn't call it Hoga. They had a simpler name, the Mudman. According to the Charleston Folk Journal of 1903, lumberjacks would hear something pulling itself onto the banks at dusk, something that sounded like a man struggling for air, if a man were made of wet clay and rotting roots. This story arrived in my hands on a piece of old cloth, wrapped around a river stone. It was mailed from a P.O. box in Folkestone, with no return name. The writer claimed to be the grandson of Elias Hooks, a lodger who vanished from his camp near Blind Frog Pond in the autumn of 1921. The night before he disappeared, Elias told his crew he'd met the Mudman. He said it wasn't a chase, it was an invitation, a voice that wasn't a voice, rising from the bog, a feeling in the skull, a promise of a warmth you'd forgotten, the warmth of the womb, of the deep earth, a pull toward the still, black water. Elias described the smell first, not decay, but petrichor, the smell after rain mixed with the iron tang of deep aquifer water, and cold, not winter air, the cold of a stone that has never seen the sun. It sat on a hummock of cypress knees, its back to him. Its skin was not skin, it was a tapestry of peat, and slick clay, and perforated root, weeping water, and it breathed with the sound of a sinking boat. It didn't turn, but Elias knew it saw him. He felt its attention like a weight in his chest, and the thought that filled his mind, a thought he was certain was not his own, was, "Come home. The mud is soft here. It holds you." The next morning, Elias was gone. No boots missing from his bunk. No disturbance. Just a trail of moist, earthy prints from his cot to the water's edge. And where they met the swamp they simply continued, sinking into the deep. But the letter said that's not the end of the story. The grandson swore that every generation since, on the anniversary of Elias' disappearance, someone in the family hears a knock at their door. Not on the wood, but 3 slow, heavy knocks on the earth outside. And they feel that same pull, that deep, terrestrial cold, that whispering promise from the heart of the mire. A promise that you don't drown, you are absorbed. You become part of the swamp's memory, your warmth, your breath, your fear, all fed to the Hoga. The letter ended with a postscript. The grandson wrote, "I heard the knocks last October. I saw the red light in my yard, like heat lightning in the ground. I didn't go out. I poured concrete over my whole yard the next day. But in the spring a patch of mud broke through, and in it, I found my grandfather's pocket watch." They found Elias Hook's watch, they say. The gears were fused with peat, and it was still ticking, keeping time with a heartbeat that wasn't his. So mind the mud at the edge of your world. Not all earth is silent. Some of it is listening, and waiting for you to grow tired enough to come home. They never found Elias Hook's body, but sometimes the swamp gives back a piece, and a piece is enough. The pocket watch arrived in a sealed evidence bag at a county historical society last fall, donated anonymously. The note said only, "Found at Blind Frog Pond. It belongs to you now." The curator, Lena Vance, catalogued it as Article 1921-07, Personal Effects, Elias Hooks. The mud was unusual. It resisted drying. Even under climate-controlled glass, it stayed damp, and it had a smell. Lena noted it in her log. Not decay, not stagnation. Smells like ozone, like the air after a lightning strike hits deep water. It started with the recordings. As a practice, Lena audio logged her condition notes. On the 3rd night, reviewing the tape, she heard it, a sound she did not make, and beneath it, a breath, not her own. The old trapper journals in the Society's vault spoke of Haga's call. It wasn't a voice you heard with your ears. It resonated, a vibration in the marrow. It mimicked sounds to lure you, a crying baby, a loved one's shout for help, a whistle to guide lost hunters. But the Mudman's mimicry was never perfect. There was always mud in the tone, the gurgle underneath. The artifact was changing. The mud began to grow, not out of the case, but within it. Overnight, it would fill the watch's interior again, as if it were patiently reassembling its home. Lena's logs became frantic. It learns the shape of its container. And then, the night the power went out, just her and the battery-powered emergency lamp, and the watch. And she heard the whistle, not from the recording, from the hallway. The same 2 notes, a promise of a path, a call to follow. The breath after it was the sound of the swamp drinking. The pull Elias felt. It wasn't gone. It was concentrated, contained in a few ounces of primordial mud, and it was hungry for a new keeper, not to drown her, but to make her a vessel, to see through her eyes, to find its way back to the water, piece by stolen piece. She didn't run. The letter from Part 1, It was a warning, yes, but also a transmission, a recipe. The mud man doesn't just take you, it leaves a part of itself behind. In the concrete that cracks, in the pocket watch that ticks, in the mind that knows its story. And in that silence, she understood the postscript's true meaning. The grandson didn't pour concrete to keep it out, he poured it to keep something in. And he failed. So he passed the weight to someone else. To Hai. Her final log entry reads, Article 1921-07 Ray examined. No anomalous properties detected. Carbon dating confirmed. Early 20th century. Recommended for standard storage. The stories of Blind Frog Pond remain unverified folklore. Some legends don't live in the swamp. They learn to walk, and they leave no footprints, unless they want to be followed. Log entry, October 31st, 23:47 hours. Supplemental, the mud is not the case. The mud is in the walls. The Carter County Historical Society was closed for a week after the incident. The official statement cited a burst pipe, black mold remediation. The security footage was supposed to be wiped, but fragments were recovered. Along with this, a voice memo, since to the timestamp, it wasn't on Lena's phone. It was found on the cloud server, uploaded at 2:18 a.m. The exact time frozen on Elias Hook's watch. The journals were right about one thing. The Hoga is a heart, but a heart pumps. It circulates. It doesn't just absorb, it repurposes. It was learning from what it consumed. Elias Hooks gave it loneliness. The trapper it mimicked gave it cunning. Now, from the paper and ink, it was learning context, the shape of deeds, the weight of names, the power of a recorded lie. And it was calling something else, something older. The folklore of the Muskogee people, who lived here long before the trappers, spoke of Est Lane, the mud people, shapeless spirits of the drowned and the forgotten. They didn't lure, they congregated. This was the climax not of a haunting, but of a transcription. The mud man was using Lena, using her knowledge, her access, her authority as a curator. It wasn't building a body of mud, it was building a body of evidence. A new history, written in clay and stolen documents, where it had always owned the land. And then, the feed dies. The final image is Lena, reaching a muddy hand not toward the recorder, but toward the lens, as if to adjust the focus, to get the documentation just right. I'm the one who recovered the files. I'm a systems contractor for the Historical Society. Lena, Dr. Vance, was my friend. They found her 3 days later in the county records office, 2 towns over. She was clean, no mud. She was updating digital land registries. She had no memory of the week prior, but the changes were saved, not just to one map, to dozens. Surveyor reports, geological surveys, all subtly altered, all now stating, as historical fact, that the wetlands around Blind Frog Pond are more vast, more ancient, and more actively acquisitive than any modern map shows. The mud man doesn't haunt places. It haunts information. It infects the record. And once something is in the archive, it becomes the truth. I received a package last week. No return address. Inside was a small, clean mason jar. It's half full of cold, black water from Blind Frog Pond. And at the bottom there's silt that arranges itself into letters when I'm not looking. It spelled out a deed, granting me a title, Keeper of the Echoes. I think I'm the backup now, the living archive. The story doesn't end. It just finds a new page. So mind the records. Mind the maps. The deepest bog isn't made of water and peat. It's made of the stories we file away and believe are settled. And some of them are just learning how to read.